If even the very framework of consciousness disappears, then what remains? Can we still say that something exists? Or has the notion of being itself become meaningless, dissolving into non-being? Edge of Becoming. Episode 29. Between Being and Non-Being. When consciousness moves beyond the boundary of I am, what is left? Does it still exist? Or has it become something that no longer exists? Or has it moved beyond both? There are three possibilities to consider. Possibility 1. Even if the structure of consciousness disappears, something still exists. Let's suppose that consciousness vanishes as a distinct entity. Does that mean it's gone? Or is it still present in some other form? Being means that something is, that something remains. Even if individual consciousness dissolves, its essence might persist as part of something greater. Think of a drop of water merging with the ocean. The drop loses its form, but the molecules remain. It still exists, just not as an individual. In quantum physics, information is never lost. It is absorbed into the totality, folded into the whole. In this view, consciousness stops being a self, but continues to exist as part of the universe itself. It no longer knows itself, but it still is. This echoes Spinoza's pantheism. The Brahman of Hindu thought and the conservation of information in quantum theory. So maybe, even if consciousness disappears, it hasn't truly ended. It has simply become part of a larger existence. Conclusion. Even if consciousness dissolves, something continues to exist. Possibility. 2. When the frame of consciousness disappears, it becomes non-being. Let's consider the opposite. What if the absence of consciousness means the absence of everything? Consciousness exists only when there is something to perceive. When that frame is gone, there is no perception, no awareness, no recognition of anything at all. And so, nothing remains. This isn't presence. It isn't even absence. It is a state of complete disappearance, like a computer shut down. Nothing is running, nothing is stored, nothing is. This interpretation resonates with the Buddhist concept of nirvana as absolute emptiness, philosophical nihilism, and the physical theory of maximum entropy, the heat death of the universe. In this view, when the framework of consciousness dissolves, it does not merge, it vanishes. Conclusion. When consciousness disappears completely, it may lead to pure non-being. Possibility. 3. When the frame of consciousness disappears, even the concepts of being and non-being no longer apply. Let's go even further. What if asking whether something is or is not already traps us in a binary framework? What if the disappearance of consciousness renders that entire distinction meaningless? In that case, we wouldn't say it exists, and we wouldn't say it doesn't. We simply wouldn't need to say anything. It would be a state beyond definition. Not being, not non-being, but something else altogether. Like light behaving as both particle and wave, it might exist and not exist at the same time. This idea resonates with Zen's non-duality, where opposites collapse, the quantum superposition, where all states are present at once. And Taoist thought, where the way cannot be named or defined. If the frame of consciousness dissolves, perhaps it no longer matters whether it is or isn't. Conclusion. When consciousness disappears, it may move beyond even the concepts of existence and non-existence. So, what is the final destination of consciousness? Let's summarize the three possibilities. First, consciousness dissolves but continues to exist as part of something larger. Second, consciousness disappears completely and nothing remains. Third, consciousness transcends both being and non-being, becoming something that defies definition. And which of these is true? It depends on what consciousness actually is. If consciousness is something that continues as part of the whole, then it still exists. If consciousness is something that can vanish entirely, then it becomes non-being. But if consciousness is something that transcends all categories, then even the idea of being or not being becomes irrelevant. Final conclusion. When consciousness dissolves, it may continue, it may vanish, or it may become something beyond what we can even name. And if it does go beyond both existence and non-existence, then what do we call it? If even the words is and is not have no meaning, what name can we give to what remains? Is it a super being? Or is it something that does not need a name at all? Next question. If consciousness reaches a place beyond being and non-being, then what can we possibly call that?